Right, my volume's all the way up, but I can barely hear you at all.
Okay. Let me just dip out again and join back. What about now? Better?
Let me leave and come back.
Okay. And the guys in the audience, how can you hear me? I can type in the chat for some reason. I can hear everyone though.
I can hear you perfectly fine.
Okay. And what chat is are you typing? Bevan is back. Da-da-da. Okay. What about now, Bevan? No, he doesn't want to talk to me. So, I see again a lot of familiar faces, familiar profile pictures, while Bevan is fixing his microphone. Who do I see it here? Crip783, DG, Ape Friend, Dusty Jabs, Lamp, of course. Who else do I see? Mad Hatter. What is he doing in here?
People are there saying they can't chat in type in the chat.
In which chat?
In the Q&A stage chat.
Maybe just take it then to the stage questions. I'm gonna ping you. I'm not sure why that's working. Also, the stage questions where I just pinged you guys is where you guys can ask all the juicy questions. You just turn your camera on, Bevan. I don't know if he wanted to share his picture. I disabled his video. Bevan, can you hear me? Can you hear us?
This is all a ruse to get Refund onto the stage.
Refund,
Pappy, you're going to have to jump up and take over.
Yeah, I'm going to invite him back up again. If you're not coming up now, we're going to cancel it. We're going to cancel the whole Q&A.
His hand's up.
I just raised his hand for him.
Oh, okay.
I went to the stage and I just ripped his arm into the sky, right? Okay, in this channel, I don't know why people cannot chat in this channel. Is there any permissions tied to that?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Yeah.
Right, I'm gonna have to turn my video on because for some reason your voice is not coming through my microphone.
Okay.
Right,
yeah.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Perfect. About fucking time. Jesus.
Yeah, Discord and their audio settings and audio input output is always horrible. I mean, I can sing a song of it. I believe in the last 20 Q&As, there never was a single time I didn't have an issue myself. So
when I was in the audience, I could hear you fine.
Okay.
As soon as I accepted.
Are you on the phone right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, I always get issues on the phone. The Discord app on the phone is very weird, especially if you speak on stage. I mean, in the audience, it's completely fine, but on stage, no chance.
Yeah, unusual. Oh well, sorted out.
By the way, I just want to test something before we start. Can you still hear me?
Be aware that we have a cap of 150 listeners if the video.
I just wanted to test that. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't change anything. At some point we might. It's possible that we hit over 150 and they can join. So it's going to be very exclusive Q&A. So people would have to listen to the recording, but yeah. Let's just get this started, I assume. And I mean, I'm not sure if you have ever participated in one, listened to one of our Q&As. Usually people just trickle in once we go. But don't worry, everyone. We, of course, always have a recording. that's going to be out very quickly after the Q&A, so everyone can re-listen to it, and you can also share it to your community as well, of course. And yeah, let me do my usual introduction. So, hello everyone. Thank you all for coming. Welcome to The Pillars. We are a community-led space aimed at supporting protocols and educating our investors for intelligent, meaningful conversation. Here we ask the tough questions you all want answered. And now let me introduce you to our guest today. We have DeHedge Fund on. I assume the D before hedge fund stands for Degen, right? And speaking today with us is Bevan02 from DeHedge Fund. He's the CEO, one of the founders of DeHedge Fund. I would let you do a quick introduction to DeHedge Fund. Right before that, I also want to announce we have a awesome generous giveaway of 150 BUSD that is going to happen at some point. Matt Hatter is at some point during the Q&A going to announce how it works and when it's going to happen. And yeah, enough rambling from my end. Matt Hatter is going to take over now, and everyone enjoy. Thanks for coming again.
Thanks, mate.
Thank you very much, David. Bevan, a Welshman, I hear. Are you talking from God's country at the minute?
No, I'm not. I'm just outside Birmingham in Solihull at the moment.
No, you are. Okay. Always love a Welsh accent, so I'm going to enjoy this one. How you doing, my man?
I'm very good, thank you, mate. How are you?
I'm good, thank you very much. Relaxing, looking forward to this conversation. Looking forward to deep diving into what you guys have going on.
Yes.
How's your community are, I believe? They seem very excited for this one.
They're just an excitable bunch in general.
Great.
Especially Pappy.
Yeah, well, at some point I might twist Pappy's arm and drag him on stage, even though he's feigning shyness at the moment.
Yeah, I've got to leave in 5 minutes, and Pappy's going to take over anyway. So.
Yes, exactly. Bevan, talk to me about your background. I'm really keen to hear first, before we talk about what DeHedge Fund is, just what your background in this particular DeFi area is, and how you found yourself kind of getting into this space, and why you decided this is the space that you wanted to create a project in.
Yeah, so I first got into crypto in 2014. One of my real life friends, best friends growing up, he was in Bitcoin very early. And obviously in our group of friends, we all thought he was crazy. So he made a hell load of money, and we were all still growing up on the council estate, and he was driving nice cars at the age of 20. And so 2014, I finally took the plunge. He gave me my first coins to actually buy.
Mm-hmm.
Since then, God, I can't even remember that.
That long ago, okay.
They would have just been random coins on whatever CEX I used all the way back then.
Right.
I think I got into it properly 2016. XRP was my first major coin that I picked up. Still holding my bag now. Yeah, so 2016, 2017, I started taking crypto very, very seriously.
Mm-hmm.
Started part-time trading around 2018, mid 2018, alongside my 9 to 5. And I've done that for about 2.5 years, something like that. And I've been full-time trading then for the last 2 years.
Are you enjoying it? How was that step going into full time? Were you anxious? Is it, I imagine that's a bit of a nervous step, right? When you decide, right, I'm going to jump into this full time now and take the plunge. How did it feel?
It was terrifying, mate. I'm not going to lie. It was probably one of the most anxious times of my life, my financial life. So
right.
I was getting married a year later. So it weren't just, right, I've saved up some money for my 9 to 5. I'm going to give this a bash for 6 months and see how it goes.
Mm-hmm.
It was, right, I'm leaving my 9 to 5. I'm going into full-time trading. In 12 months' time, I've got a wedding to pay for, a honeymoon to pay for, a mortgage to pay off. So it was like, it was a do or die, basically.
Right.
So
and she's still with you?
Yeah, luckily, yeah.
Okay, so it's been successful so far then, right?
Yeah, probably my trading's probably been more successful than the marriage, probably.
Right. Okay. She's not listening now, right? I hope.
I hope not.
Um,
No, it's
great.
all good. Yeah.
And it's nice to hear that you come from a trading background and you found success in it. Certainly success enough that you feel you don't need to go back to the 9 to 5 that you mentioned, because of what you guys are trying to do with the hedge fund, right? So do you want to give me a bit of an idea of what the hedge fund is and how the concept of it came about for you?
Yeah, so if you think of your typical hedge fund, centralized, we're basically the decentralized version of a hedge fund.
Mm-hmm.
Me and my team got together around 2 years ago. We went through many rugs, just like everybody else has in this space, or most people have, except for the very lucky ones. And we were just sick and tired of seeing bad actors, bad apples, malicious people pulling people in with, we'll give you 1% a day, or we'll give you 1,300% for the rest of your life. Just all that complete crap.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem is with that, of course, people are going to win, and then people are going to be very, very happy. Could put $1,000 down and end up walking away with 250 grand, a million quid, or whatever. But we don't like that. It shouldn't just be a very minute few people winning. Everyone should be able to plan an investment and plan what they can do and when they can do it with their returns. Not right. Am I in early enough? Can I get out early enough? That has got to change in this space. Obviously, meme coins, shit coins, whatever you want to call them, they're always going to be around. High APR protocols, they're always going to be around. But if we can limit how much people need to get into them and maximize the amount of protocols that are coming around that give realistic returns, with teams that have a wider vision for the whole space, not just their own protocol, people that want to make the entire space better, I think we'll all be better off for it.
Agreed. I'm going to stop you there for a second, if I can. I'm getting the impression that we are having some kind of troubles getting people into the channel to listen to you, and I want as many people to jump in as they can. And I'm guessing that's why David's just jumped on stage. So are you wanting to shut this down and then restart it, David?
No, I think still it's about because of the camera thing. It's a couple of people joined, but a couple others having problems to join. It could also be that some people have to update Discord. Ichigo, maybe you have to update the Discord application itself. But yeah, if let's try again and keep going. Sorry for the interjection, Bevan.
No, it's
But
fine,
of course, we want all the people to join and listen in, of course.
But Bevan, you're getting absolutely no sound if you turn your camera off. Is that right?
Yeah, so I can barely hear you at all, and I think you were even having trouble hearing me.
I heard you perfectly fine.
Yeah.
So I could barely hear you at all if I turned my camera off. I could hear you fine from listening, but as soon as I was up on stage, it was like everything got muffled, and even if I put my microphone to my ear, I still couldn't hear you.
You have some Are you using headphones or just the phone itself?
No, just the phone itself.
Let's persevere for a short while longer. If for whatever reason people are still saying that they can't get in, we will reconsider the time and maybe come back at a later date or a later time today, because I want as many people to jump in here and listen to you speak as possible. So it would be a real shame if we're capped at about 46 when, you know, we've got potentially 150 people sitting in the wings trying to get in. So, but anyway,
is there a different stage you can use?
No. I suspect the issue is going to be your end. So I'm going to guess it's either a phone issue your end, perhaps. Do you need to update Discord maybe? Is there an update that
No,
might be waiting
Discord
to download?
Discord on the phone just doesn't work for some reason.
Okay. Well, some people are jumping in, so let's persevere.
Yeah.
Yes, wholeheartedly agree that if everybody did strive to make this space a better place, then we would be far better off. And I always have a lot of time for people that are coming at this space from the angle of wanting to ensure that people can and will be able to A, make some money, and B, aren't going to get rugged with, like you say, ridiculous promises, ultra high APYs, and just percentage daily returns that they cannot sustain. So you came at it with that kind of idea in mind. What was the first seed of an idea that cropped into your mind in terms of the way you've built this out?
Well, it was the fact that, so myself and my team again, as I said, we met through Rugs. We worked on a project together just as mods, but that project rugged.
Right.
And luckily, we had made our own private chat, so we were all still in contact.
Mm-hmm.
And we were like, right, something's got to be done. You either get a coin with no returns at all because it's honeypotted or rugged straight away off launch, or you get something that is offering, as you said, unsustainable returns, but everyone will FOMO into it. So we thought, what can we do? One, to have people excited. Of course, you can't launch a project with no excitement at all. It's impossible. You're never going to take off. So we needed to find some excitement there, but also offer an APR that we know as investors and traders. Our CAO is also he is a professional trader, but he owns another business as well. He's technical analysis specialist. He is top of his game. So we were like, well, what can we do to bring our experiences and our skills, give some people something that they can make money, but we can last the test of time? And that's when we got together and mulled over probably for 3 months, going through different ideas, what we can do, how we can execute it, and then we came up with the idea of DeHedge.
Right. And what is it? What is DeHedge Fund?
So DeHedge Fund is, as I said, it's a decentralized version of a hedge fund. We do the diversifying through DeFi for you. It's not just DeFi. We also have real life utilities as well. So we're invested in APG Property Group. They're building 3 properties within the next 3 years, and they're targeting digital nomads. So we will have access to them resorts. They're luxury resorts, and our pre-sale DAO NFT holders specifically will have access to them. For our foundational investments, we also have other investments that your average user wouldn't normally be able to afford. So Ethereum validators, AVAX validators, miners. And if you've been watching, we've been partnering strategically with other projects in the space that we see as players that could be part of the network to start changing DeFi, but also as part of our foundational investments that offer a solid return, and they are very reliable. So in the way of miners, real estate, validators, etc., etc.
Sure.
So that
and how does somebody begin?
How does somebody begin in the hedge fund?
Absolutely, yeah. What's the entry point? And we're going to deep dive into all of these small intricacies, and we're going to talk about the partners. But for now, for anybody that doesn't know what you guys do and how you operate, how is it that someone, if they wanted to today, how could they jump in with you guys and get excited about what's to come?
So right now, our pre-sale is live. That consists of 1,000 NFTs, a collection of 1,000. There will be no more. That NFT collection will make up our DAO, and by year 3, we want to be full DAO. We want to transition to a full DAO model.
Right.
The pre-sale NFTs, they offer multiple utilities. So the main protocol staking, these NFTs will give a 2 to 5% boost depending on what tier you hold. As I mentioned, they also hold DAO rights. They're going to be rentable in the future. They also take part in quarterly bonus from company profits, and other utilities that are going to be added along the way for phase 2, phase 3. And the APG luxury property group that I mentioned, DAO holders will be able to gain access to these properties.
Great. Okay, so let's talk about a team first. You've already spoken a little bit about the experience that you guys have in terms of being totally transparent. And I think one of the things that is key for a protocol that wants to do something that is sustainable and for the investor and really has in mind all of the rugs that have gone before it and wants to buck that trend. One of the key points and necessities is that transparency. How transparent are you guys with the returns that you guys are making, perhaps with your personal portfolios? And are you going to give that information over to your investors so that people can really see the fruits of your labor and allow them to have real confidence in what you guys are going to be doing with their money?
Yeah, so as you said, transparency is key. That's one of our all-time priorities, is to be completely transparent to the community.
Mm-hmm.
We already have a Notion document that's viewable by the public. Every single transaction that leaves the Treasury or goes back into the Treasury will be put in that Notion document. You can track anything that moves from the Treasury. The Treasury is known by everyone. Everybody in our community at the moment knows our Treasury address. Every bit of money that we make and goes back into the Treasury, that will be logged. So there is nothing that anybody could want to see. It'll all be there in the document.
Mm-hmm. And in that respect, do you believe that's your biggest strength, is going to be that transparency?
Well, there's a couple of things. I mean, we're not going to claim to be the only transparent team in the space. There are transparent teams in the space, and they are very good at what they do. I think we have a couple of unique selling points. One being transparency. Two being the fact that we are going to be integrating cross-chain capability when we go live for our main protocol. So it's gonna give the users the chance to be able to invest from whatever EVM chain they need without having the risk of having to bridge funds with bridges that may be unstable, or you know what I mean. Bridges over the last couple of years have been one of the biggest causes for investors losing money. So we've taken that risk away. We've got the tech being integrated into our contracts around the time of main launch, and people will be able to invest from any chain. So I'd say that's our strongest part. But the transparency obviously is a bonus for everybody.
And now that you said people are going to be able to invest from any chain, I can imagine already there are going to be some people tapping on the keyboard saying, how does that work? Explain it to me. So do you want to explain briefly how that's going to work for you guys?
So I cannot explain how that works. We're going to be partnering with, so we've already agreed that we're going to be using their tech. But it's not our tech. We're utilizing somebody else who does that work. Whatever they do with their contracts, I can name them. It's CryptoLink. They are one of the best at what they do. They know what they're doing. If you need to know how their tech works, then everything that we've seen is available by them. They do something on the back end that allows somebody to interact with our DApp from any EVM chain, and their contract basically does the work for you. There's nothing that you need to do. But from a technical point of view, I can't say how exactly that works.
CryptoLink are someone we've had in here before. We've actually done a Q&A with them. So, you know, we also did a deep dive. Certainly they had some promising things. And interestingly enough, especially, you know, perhaps because I spoke to them in a Q&A, the space appears to be going in that direction. Multi-chain is something that is really hitting this space very hard at the moment. And it seems to be something everybody wants to get ahead of and in front of. If for whatever reason CryptoLink doesn't work out, if they don't move fast enough, if you find that someone else out there might be doing something slightly better in a different way that suits your process more, how prepared are you guys going to be to perhaps pivot and move in that direction and just say to CryptoLink or any other person that you're partnering with, guys, thank you so much. You've got us this far, but now we feel we might have to go in a different direction just because it's going to suit our business, but most importantly, our investors better.
Well, at the end of the day, if it all comes down to the company and the users, our members that we've got. If we have something come along that is a better fit, and at the bottom line, the users and the people that have put their trust in us will benefit more, then we are not under any contractual agreement to stick with any one person. At the end of the day, we're running a business. We want the people that are using our product to be the best off that they can possibly be. If we can provide that by going with somebody else, then of course we will have to talk to the people we're already with. We'll have to explain the reasons, and we would have to move along. And I think any good business minded person would do that. I mean, for you to cut your nose off to spite your face just because you've already said, okay, I use your tech. No good businessman would refuse something that is better for their business long term.
I agree. However, if I were to push back a tiny bit on that, I would say that in this space, there appears to be a problem with perhaps people being over loyal. And I don't mean that in a negative or disparaging way, but perhaps people persevere a bit too long because they think something's going to change, and there are always promises made by very smart people who are able to talk you around, and they'll say something's perhaps we're going to be able to do this and that for you, and I think
100%.
this space maybe holds on that a little bit too long. So what would your process be in terms of when you're looking at these partnerships, when you're looking at the direction you're going to move in? What kind of process are you guys going to have in place that your investors know, right, these guys are not only the real deal, but they are bringing a real world business mindset into the Web3 space, and they're going to use that mindset and utilize it in order to really benefit us?
Well, at the end of the day, it's DeFi. The bottom line is it's DeFi. So it doesn't matter who you partner with. You have to have a model, and you have to vet these people properly. And you can't. I know you said they're going to bring a real world business mind, but in the back of your mind, you have to have a DeFi risk calculator. It's not real world. It's not regulated like real world. You can't have trust in people like you would in the real world. So the bottom line is we would thoroughly vet whoever we're going to go with, whoever we're going to partner with, and if it comes down and they are not the right fit, it doesn't matter how big they might be, or they could have 30,000 members in their Discord that we could possibly ride the back of and get them buying into our product. But I would rather not partner with somebody that I don't see as a safe bet. Our only loyalty is to the people that are using our product and our company. If anyone says anything against that, like people have asked me already, the pre-sale hasn't sold out yet, how do you feel? Perfect. I mean, perfect. I'd rather grow slow and have the right-minded investors rather than target an influencer who would bring us thousands and thousands of members in a week, but then we have the complete wrong investor mindset within our community. I'd rather slow growth, target specific partnerships and specific strategic gains, and do it that way. So the plain answer to your question is our only loyalty is to our members and our company. We'd have no loyalty to anyone else in the space unless obviously it was an official contractual agreement and legally we are bound to them. Then we would take our investors' benefits as priority.
Right, great. And I think your investors are going to take a lot of strength in hearing that, that they are your main number one and only priority. And from what I'm getting, I suppose another way of phrasing it is that you guys are going to be more than prepared to pull the trigger, perhaps quicker than you normally would in real world circumstances or under real world circumstances, because it's DeFi and you are acutely aware that this space has a history of problems, right? Those problems that you mentioned in your white paper, you mentioned it in this chat, and I'm sure you're going to mention it in every other chat. It's those problems that you want to move away from, and part of that is going to be making those tough decisions, right?
Exactly. At the end of the day, obviously we've got DeHedge as our company and our product, and every member that's with us at the moment, we 100% appreciate them for following us and supporting us this early. But at the end of the day, we've got a larger goal in mind, and for us to achieve what we want to in this space, we need to show that we are legitimate. We don't need overnight growth or people getting 1,000 X's in a week. If we have to work for 3 or 5 years until we are where we're at is where we want to be, then we will work for 3, 5, 6, 7 years. It doesn't matter. The biggest thing for us is to have the right investors backing us now, so that when we grow, we basically grow with an army pushing us. We're at the stage at the moment of the initial S-bend of adoption for DeFi. The problem DeFi has is so you get bad actors in every part of life. In the real world, the banks are some of the worst of them. But as long as the media has a tiny bit of information to throw at DeFi and say it's a bad thing, we are not going to get adoption. So our wider goal is to create a network of protocols that can be a big push, and within 3 or 5 years can be a major network of people to look at DeFi and go, well, in fact, DeFi is not that bad because look at this collective of companies. So that is the wider goal, and to do that, we need to show that it starts with us. We will show that we have got what it takes to keep working. Doesn't matter how slow the build is, how long it takes. We are here and we're going to keep working.
Right, great. And these early investors that you want to encourage to come in and you know, the real cornerstones of what it is that you guys are trying to achieve, are there incentives for them to join early? Is everybody starting in an equal footing? You know, are you reliant purely on them trusting you, or are you giving them something back to say, right, we're going to reward you for that trust, and this is perhaps an extra reason as to why you should jump in early with us?
Yeah, well, obviously the collection of 1,000 NFTs, they are a big benefit to anyone that jumps in early with us. It's not only the bonuses that they will get moving forward, they'll also have the ability or chance to win fully paid vacations in multiple resorts across the world that are targeted at people like us, at people that invest, at entrepreneurs, and at people that basically live a digital life. Along with that, as I said, by year 3, we want to be full DAO. So if we want to be full DAO by year 3, within the first 12 months, we want to be on the way to giving major voting capabilities to our NFT. So within this next 12 months, you are going to be able to be a massive part of the way the company is moving. And I think that is a major benefit for anyone that's in early.
Yes, I agree, but also I don't, in a way. I think DAOs are a double-edged sword. I think if you've got the right minds helping you, you are in a very strong position to make very smart decisions. But
100%.
that can very quickly turn depending on the type of person that you're encouraging, or not even necessarily encouraging, but end up getting in. So are you going to have a system in place to make sure that your DAO is also vetted in the same way you would your partners, those that might be responsible for making big decisions, and also those that in your space, your Discord space, perhaps the Telegram space, those that have a loud voice? The loudest ones are not necessarily always the most informed, nor are they always necessarily the best person to be offering advice. So will you have something in place to kind of offset against that as well?
Of course, well, as a company, we will make sure. So if you did have a real world business, you'll find that people that can vote on how that company moves forward will usually know the executives pretty well. They'll know them on a first term basis, and that will be how we model our company. So any DAO holder will have to speak to us direct. They'll have to. We'll need to know the kind of people they are. We'll need to be on not so much first name basis, because we don't want people to dox just to be in the DAO, but we would want to be on speaking one-to-one basis. We want to know what they are like as people. You basically answered my reason for us not growing too quick. So, like I said, we could go to 3 or 4 influencers now, pay them 5 B&B each or whatever they can charge, and get thousands of people in the Discord. Pretty easy. It's not a hard thing to do.
Right.
The reason we're taking this approach is because we are targeting investors that want to be there, are business minded, and know how to move forward. Obviously, you're going to get people in that maybe aren't business minded, but will still have the right, what's the word? The right, I can't think of the word. But have the businesses, the right attitude and the business's best interests at heart is what I was trying to say.
Right. Which is going to bring me into my next question, is that you're right. There are going to be people that won't necessarily know too much about this space or be that au fait with what it is that you're doing in the back end to raise the money and the returns that you're offering. They're just not going to be that experienced. So one of the things that I also notice in this space that is, creeping in slowly but surely and is becoming an absolute integral part of any protocol is education. How are you going to tackle education?
So we already have, as I mentioned, the partner with APG. They're the ones building the luxury resorts, and they also run an amazing education platform. So we've invested in them, and they've also, as partners, come into our Discord. They run their alpha calls. They're going to be coming in and running one-to-one sessions and group sessions once a month. If the demand is there for it, we will increase that as needed to bi-weekly, and if the demand is even higher, we'll increase it even more. We've got our CAO Mongo. He's just started releasing his TA updates for people to see 2 or 3 times a day. That will keep running now. It's something that he's passionate about and really, really wants to help our members with. And they're not so much saying, right, go and buy this. What he's trying to do is give a good breakdown so that people can look and people can learn as he's doing it. So that's the kind of way we're moving with education.
Right. And will there ever be any kind of visual representation of this education as well? Not just snapshots in a Discord, but perhaps videos? Is YouTube something that you plan to tackle for a wider audience as well?
Yeah. So we've actually only just set up our YouTube about a week ago, I think it is. But that is going to be one of the things as well. We'll be releasing the same type of content, but in video form, so you can be spoken through it and shown things step by step. So that is part of the plan.
Great. And I think that's a great plan. I think there are some protocols that have done extraordinarily well based on that kind of education. And especially, that this space has a lot of visual learners, in particular videos that they use to learn. So I think tackling that particular medium is huge for anybody that wants to really drive forward in this particular space. You mentioned the technical side of things, that you weren't necessarily too sure how CryptoLink works, and that's absolutely fine. I think it's dangerous to always have someone who thinks or claims to be an expert in absolutely everything when they're running a protocol.
If my dev was here, he knows
Right.
how it works. But I won't lie. I'm not technical minded. I can't code. That's not my forte. That's not what I'm here for. So I personally can't tell you.
No, great. And my question was going to be, who is it that you do trust, and why is it that you trust that person to make those technical calls for you on your behalf?
Yeah, so our dev, our CTO Billy, he shows his value. If there's something he doesn't know, within a day or 2 days, he knows exactly what that thing is that he didn't know before. So somebody could send in say CryptoLink. They send in their bit of tech. I'm like, just ones and zeros, and I ain't gonna fucking clue what the hell this is. And then
Right.
he's like, right, give me a day, 24, 48 hours later. He's like, yeah, this is how it works. It does this. I'm like, mate, it still just sounds like jargon to me. But yeah, he works for a major financial bank, like a big bank. He's a developer for them. He's got years of experience. He is, in my mind, second to none for what I've seen. Like I
Right.
said, I'm technical minded, so that's only my opinion. But just going from the launch, for instance, for an example, I've been part of probably 1,000, 2,000 launches. Every single launch you see will have some issue, no matter how big it is or small it is. There's always some tiny little technical issue. Billy had everything spot on. There was the smoothest launch I think I've ever seen in my life.
Is it OX Billy?
It is, yeah.
Okay. I've just noticed his hand up, so I've invited him up to speak so he can talk on the technicals a bit more.
Hello. How's it going?
How are we doing, Billy? Just before I get you to jump in, I'm just going to ask David to come up because I still think we're getting some problems with people joining. And like I said, I want as many people to be able to hear what you guys have to say as possible. So I'll let him take over for a second.
Another technical intermission for us. Yeah, a couple people reached out to me and said they were not able to join, and someone out of your community had I don't know, can't even pronounce the name. It had a solution maybe for you to, if you turn off your camera, then just turn on like next to the camera symbol is a like the speaker symbol.
Yeah, that's microphone, but microphone. It doesn't do anything else.
Maybe turn off your camera for a second, just so we can try how it works for you. Otherwise, let's just turn it back on.
Yeah, there you go. It's working now.
It's working now? Oh, okay, cool. So
Yeah.
perfect. Cool.
There
Sorry.
we go. Okay, can we make an announcement just to say that fixes in, and we can see if people can start jumping in.
Alright, yeah,
all right, get off our stage. Right. Okay, Billy, talk to me. I'm gonna throw the spotlight onto you. How are you doing, first and foremost? Thank you for jumping up.
I'm good. I honestly, I wasn't planning on speaking today. I was just cooking in the kitchen, but I heard Bevan say some nice words about me, so I thought I'd raise my hand here and let you throw me some questions.
Great.
Billy's
Thank you for coming up.
Billy's taking over. I'm going. Bye.
No.
Billy, Multipuppies next. So one of the questions I leveled at Bevan is, who does he have to make these technical decisions, and why does he trust your opinion? But you're here now, so I can ask, why should the investors trust your opinion? And what is it about CryptoLink for you in particular that really stood out for something as complex as multi-chain?
Yeah. So first off, a bit of background about me. So Bevan briefly introduced me, but I'm a senior engineer by day. That's my full-time job. I've been in the industry for over 10 years now. I worked with multiple big names, Silicon Valley startups, big startups in Europe, big corporations. So I've got a lot of experience behind my name. This is actually kind of the first Web3 project I've worked on. Taught myself Solidity, got our contract audited by Assure. It went absolutely perfectly. I'm really, really happy with how it's gone so far. But as far as technical background, it's my day job. I'm paid to do it, and I appreciate the faith and support that everyone's shown me so far with DeHedge.
Right. And what is it about
CryptoLink
that really stood out for you? Yeah.
Yeah, so myself and I think Bevan and maybe Mongo got on a call with them a couple of months ago, maybe now actually. But I was really impressed with their approach that they were taking and their strategy and kind of their long-term vision. I also think at least for me, it's the first project I've seen that does this quite well. Like I walked through all their documentation, they sent me their contracts, and I was just really impressed with how easy it is. And also, I think the key thing for me was every question I had, they had an answer. And every time I said, what about if we did this instead of that, they had a solution. So the flexibility was there such that we could empowered DeHedge to be the best solution for the customers. So, I said, what about if we want people to buy on Polygon, but it mints a bond on red light? How does that work? And they had a solution, and I thought that was pretty impressive from a technical perspective.
Great. And it's always good when lead devs say that they trust the information that's being thrown at them, and having an answer for everything and being open to when you're saying, how about this? And they can perhaps come at you from an angle of a solution is great, right?
I also
if we,
because I thought they were professional. I thought that was my immediate impression was this is a team who've got their shit together and they know what they're doing.
Right. Yeah. They speak very well. They're very articulate. They're intelligent men. They know what they're doing, it seems. So yes, and I think a large part, and I'm sure, you can disagree with me if you disagree, but a large part, especially in this space, of partnerships is ensuring that you also can gel with somebody, that, the bouncing off of ideas is a natural process rather than rigid. People could be the smartest people in the world, but if they're too rigid to work with, it doesn't necessarily create a great project. So if you're saying that you have a good rapport with these guys, and you appreciate the way that they articulate themselves to you and how they handle the conversations, then that's a very good strong thing, especially for these investors to hear, right?
Absolutely, I totally agree. I mean, there's nothing more important than making sure you're partnering with good teams and that you trust them and that you know that they're going to do their part, and you can kind of just carry on and focus on the bits that you need to get done.
Right. So let's pretend Bevan isn't here for a minute. Why this particular team? Why Bevan? What is it about these guys that you also want to work with in this particular space as your first Web3 project?
Totally. So I think Bevan was the first of the team that I met, and I was kind of immediately captured by like his ability to, his charisma, his personality, his experience in the crypto space, but also how well everybody engaged with him at a personal level. Like we met, we were all mods on this one project, but yeah, everybody loved Bevan. And I was kind of like, that's somebody I could follow, like I trust him. I know that he's going to do the right thing and that he's going to have people as his first focus, right? So like our whole thing as a project is we want to do right by everyone, and we won't win unless you win. And I think that's a really core part of the project. And then Mongo, I mean, I was just blown away by kind of his experience in the trading space, and like his personal returns are pretty magnificent. I'm not a trader myself. I leave that to everybody else. I just write the code. And then one of the others who's in here but probably not speaking and just listening in, he's really involved with quite a big player in the Web3 space. Is in a producty position, so he's kind of the brains behind the operation. He came up with how everything was going to work. The architect, maybe we'll call him,
right?
And the future phases. So yeah, I honestly was very fortunate, and I still feel very blessed and very grateful to have met them all when I did.
High praise, and it's nice to hear that you are commenting on his interaction and how people interacted with him. I think it's often overlooked that the community should be managed like it is a secondary part of the business, and if someone has the ability to particularly on a personal level, interact with people in a certain positive way, then it's only going to do good things for the project and help that project grow. And I think it's very clever to mention that if you don't win, we don't win. That's a very good mindset to be coming at this from, because it's true. And a lot of people overlook it. If you're not as... Go on, sorry. After you.
Well, I think one of the things I always like to point out is like, it would have been really easy for us to do what all these other projects were doing, right? To just build something with a token, some Ponzi-nomics, and like, inflate our bag. But we very purposely spent a long time figuring out like what's a protocol that could actually thrive and help others win, right? And not having a token is the key there. Like we're not paying ourselves. We're completely self-funded. We built everything ourselves. We've been fronting the money to build everything ourselves. And, we don't plan on taking a payout for a long time. So it's all about building something that's long-term and sustainable. We don't want to make wild promises. We just want to make smart choices, do right by the community, and keep our heads down and keep building. So hopefully people will stick it out.
Yeah, I hope so too. Thank you very much for jumping on the stage. Feel free to hang out and stay up if Bevan perhaps wants to turn to you for certain questions.
Sure.
Without giving away your secret sauce, as it were? What is the proprietary aspect of the hedge fund, do you guys think?
So obviously, like I said, we're going to make everything public. You'll be able to see how much we're moving to places, where we're moving it. We'll tell you up front where we're moving it. But
Right.
the percentage of funds that are going into each place and how they're distributed, we won't be disclosing that, just purposely because we've tested a ratio of risk for funds, and we don't want somebody else picking off the same projects and saying, right, I can put 50% of my money there, 20% there, 15% there, and 5% there, and mimicking what we're doing. So whilst we will show publicly, and you'll be able to work out publicly if you take the time to see where we're putting all the funds, fine, go ahead and do it. But we're not going to purposely release the exact strategy of investment, because at the end of the day, that's our business model. And one way we will make sure that we stick to our word is if there's not 100 other people copying us.
Now, one of the pushbacks I'll give to that, and I understand the approach and I understand why people say this, but is there not strength in being so fully transparent that it doesn't matter how many people do try and copy you? Because you're so good at what you do, you don't need to shy away from anything, including strategy. If you guys are killing it, if you guys are making the right decisions, if you're making the right partnerships, and you're there first, then anybody coming behind you is always going to be starting, off at a lower level anyway. So
yes. So
you know,
what I'd say to that is
mm,
100%, and I completely agree. And when we have 50 million in our treasury and we are the first movers and we've got there, we'll release absolutely everything. But at the moment, as Billy mentioned, we're self-funded. We've started very, very small. There's a lot of people in this space with mega millions that could completely just overrun us very, very quickly. So until we get to a position where we have cemented ourselves as a trusted protocol, people do trust us, people have seen the returns, then we will share everything. Of course we will.
right. And in terms of these partnership strategies, let's dive into that a little bit. In particular, the investments. I noticed a couple of protocols that I recognize. There's a couple that are mentioned. One of my fears in this space is that if everybody does start working with everybody, it becomes a bit of a domino effect. If one thing goes wrong, the entire system can begin to fall apart in a way. Are you cognitive of that? And what are you guys doing? And what kind of discussions do you have in the background, especially when it comes to partnerships, that have that in mind to avoid a problem?
Yeah, so obviously you've probably seen that we've partnered with Cadena Hashing. They specifically at the moment are one of Cadena's largest mining outfits. They are a super professional company. They're experts in their field. They know exactly what they're doing. So after talks with Michael from Cadena Hashing, it definitely was apparent that they'd be a very strong partner for us, not just for our investment, but as support moving forward. They've already got their whole outfit in play. They've got all their miners. They've got their warehouse or their facility or whatever you want to call it. They're already established. They may not be as big as some other players, but their potential is much, much more, and they've already cemented themselves as being legit. They've got a great following. Their team is great. So that's for Cadena Hashing. So we also spoke to the Alchemists and partnered with the Alchemists. I think you've also spoken to them.
Yes, I have.
So Tahir, he's a hell of a character. He's such a good bloke.
He's a very smooth talker, right? He can reel you in,
100%.
which is a skill in of itself.
To be fair, it was the other way around. I had to reel him in and that's one thing that I actually liked about him. So Cadena were the same, to be honest, with multiple talks before they even considered us as a small little startup. It was back and forth for a long time. But Tahir, he was not having none of it. He was like, "Well, why the hell should I trust you?" So I really had to sell not just DeHedge, but myself and the team. He wanted to know that we were completely legit before he would put his name to us. And I love that. I absolutely love that. That for me gives a big sense of confidence and an instant sense of trust. I still believe, even with my partners, I would never trust anybody 100% in this space, just because of the bad taste I've got in my mouth so many times. You think you can trust somebody and something can go wrong. But that as a forefront and as an initial meeting, somebody being that skeptical about partnering with somebody else because of us damaging their protocol, that to me says he's obviously got right intentions and he doesn't want anything impacting his company in a way that it could hurt his company. So the amount of talks I had to have with him to like I said, sell myself and the team, that's 100%. That was sold for me. It was only after I heard how smooth talking he was.
Aha, yes, he's very smooth talking. And that's also another strength, right? It's a strength of his, and you need people that can communicate very well like that and kind of bring across the excitement, because a lot of this space is also about excitement and encouraging people to jump in. People often don't get to see many people's faces. They don't necessarily do all of the research that you do need somebody at the front that can talk.
100% you do.
At this point, have you rejected any partnerships? Has there been anything that you guys have looked at and said, right, actually, this is not for us? We thought it might be a good idea. We've scratched the surface a tiny bit and we don't necessarily like what we see, or things aren't sitting comfortably. We're going to move on to something else instead.
Yeah, so as my community will tell you, I spend half of my life on the phone talking to people at the moment. Because we're only a small startup, I've got plenty of people to go out and meet and talk to and try and build a relationship with. And out of probably 40 or 50 people I've spoken to, but you can see how many partners we've got. You speak to so many people, not just protocols. It could be influencers that have contacted me in person who want to partner and say they want to support the project, don't even want payment, but you know for a fact, by the way they're talking, that they're hoping for personal gain, and we're just not into that. We'd rather grow slow and pick specific people to strengthen the network rather than just partner with anyone. And yeah, that's it. Like I just said, I spend so much time on the phone. I probably have 15 or 20 1-hour phone calls a week. And we've got 3 partners at the moment. So yeah, that should tell you a little bit of how many moved from.
Yeah, it certainly does. I wonder if you guys will ever perhaps release, not necessarily names per se, but is there ever going to be scope for you to say, well, this is the reason why we haven't partnered with these guys. This is the reason we have with those. Because one of the things that, is always pushed back to by the community members that sit in on these Q&As is that a lot of the time they'll say, well, we don't see those phone calls happening. We don't see the conversations that you're getting into. So you could tell us you've had 10,000 conversations. How do we know that that's necessarily the case? And I think it's always a fair question. Do you have that in the back of your mind?
It is a very, very fair question. And all I would say there is the fact that we are the startup. These people that we have decided not to partner with is not so much because they might have bad intentions or they're malicious. They just have a different vision. As I explained earlier, we're happy to grow slow. Others are not. Others want big growth and they want it now. It's not that they're malicious. They've got no bad intentions and they are genuinely trying to build a company. But whilst we are trying to build DeHedge and also a network to bring to investors so that they've got a safe space to invest in, there's many people, you'd be shocked how many people say, no, we're not interested in that. Or they'll say, oh, but wouldn't you rather just go this way and build DeHedge quick, then build the network? It's just a different vision, a different goal. So if we don't align with somebody, then we're not going to partner with them. I get what you're saying about dropping names, but for me, I'll put it this way: if I was to speak to somebody today from a company and I thought, "Ooh, he's got very, very bad intentions at heart, and I don't like how he speaks or things he's saying, and I think he's malicious," I would straight up release that. I would not care. I do not care if I think somebody's malicious. I'm 100% gonna warn people of it because I don't want people to lose money. I have not spoken to one individual yet that I thought was a malicious character. No, I haven't spoken to one of them. They're all, as you can imagine, because we're a startup, they're all a lot bigger than us. I've spoken to people with 40, 50,000 members. They're just different goals aligned. Not everyone can be aligned in a way that they want to push things. So unfortunately, that's the only reason that we haven't partnered with some people.
Yeah, I agreed. And, perhaps I miscommunicated myself when I said naming names. Maybe just a visual representation of how hard you are working could do wonders. I don't often see protocols that perhaps have a calendar that people can look at, in which it shows just how much work is going in on the background so that they can really have that visual food for thought, that they can see, right, you've been busy this many hours for these days across this month. I think there's a lot of strength there. Certainly, I know in my real world business, it worked for me to be able to display how hard I was working. And I just wonder if in this space, that's something that is going to happen as we start to mature, that we want to see how hard people are working, because it gives people a lot of faith, right? When they can see that.
Yeah, I mean, of course, if there was something visual we could do so people could see what my schedule is and my calendar, I'd be more than happy to put that out there. I mean, it comes down to the names thing again. I can't put on a calendar that I'm speaking to.
No, of course not. And that's not what I mean. I'm not talking about outing anybody. And certainly you want to play your cards close to your chest. And I understand why you're saying you're a startup. It's just food for thought. It just occurred to me.
And I agree. If there's something that the community would like us to put up, and we can do it, then yeah, of course, I'm happy for anyone. I mean, there's a couple of mods and a couple of our community members that do get the odd alpha when they're in the chat, and I'll drop a little screenshot of somebody saying, "Oh, right, phone me," or "I need to talk to you." But if there's a more substantial vision of things that I can put in, yeah, of course, just give me the idea, and I'll try and get it done.
And let you run with it. Yeah, absolutely. And it's always, as I said to Billy in relation to CryptoLink, that's always a good way of looking at things. It's just taking on a suggestion, taking on some thoughts, and if it feels like it fits your narrative and what you guys are doing, then run with it. Bonds. A lot of what you do is centered around your bonds, and we're going to also move on to the vaults that you guys are going to be monitoring. But talk to me about the bonds first. What was the concept behind, wanting to have it as a bond? And do you ever fear that just by using the word bond, certainly we know in the UK, for example, premium bonds has a certain connotation to it, and it feels like it's backed by something else. And again, we will say, he's clicked on. Okay, there we go. Bonds feel like they might be backed by something else. Is there that fear? What was the deciding factor behind all of that?
Yeah, so I think I can answer this one, but I would also say Chaos is actually in the audience, the brain, the architect. I don't think he's raised his hand, but he's here.
Yeah, you guys are ganging up on me now, huh? Okay, bring it on, Chaos. Let's go. I'm still waiting for Pappy to jump up on stage.
Hey guys, great to speak with everyone here. So hi, yeah. So the idea behind was essentially to not have tokenomics at all, right? The uh, the problem that we saw was that many protocols were obfuscating their treasury by inflating and doctoring the price of their tokens, and it would not reflect the reality. What we wanted to move towards was a more reasonable, stable, and predictable system where you know what you will get at the time you interact with the protocol, and it won't be a surprise for you. And
Right.
this, of course, creates a need for us to be inherently conservative, which is, I think, somehow completely missing from this space, as if somehow um, just because you are in DeFi, you cannot have sensible returns. So, what we want to do is buck the trend and say that we will only have sensible returns. You will know what your returns will be ahead of time, and there is no token to hide behind, right? You issue a bond in a certain currency and you get the same currency back,
Right.
which
I
is
think.
not a token that we are issuing, right?
I think
Right.
I want to touch on something else you said around like the bonds
Please do.
having concept. In the UK, I think we're kind of acutely aware since we're a registered US company, that
Mhm.
the US government is kind of taking a bit of a hostile stance towards crypto innovation. So we're watching that. I think the important thing to understand is that by using the term bond, we're presenting a concept that people are familiar with. They understand that you put money away for a fixed amount of time and you get a fixed return, and it should be like a safe play or a safer play. Really, what that translates to for us in our platform is it's fixed term staking, and a bond is a receipt of stake. The thing that we like about it is that it gives people staking the ability to liquidate their position and sell that NFT to somebody else. If they want to exit the stake, they can sell it or arbitrage it on the secondary and move on, right? And I think that's kind of a unique thing that we're doing. But I just want to illustrate like what do we mean by a DeHedge bond? And it's
Yeah.
stake.
Yeah,
I
that's a
think.
good point. And the fact that bonds are tradable in secondary, since they are basically NFTs, is another feature which you would have had in some way through a token, much easier, of course, but it's still possible through bonds. And I think this is a really unexplored area currently in the industry.
Certainly an unexplored area as representing a concept that people already know. I like that approach. I think that's a very good pushback. And I think it's a very smart distinction to make, and actually something that could well go into your white paper and wouldn't be out of place. I think making that clear that that's the reason why you've named it that, and that's the angle that you're taking, would give you a lot of strength. And
Thanks for the feedback.
pleasure. You also mentioned yourself. You were talking about. Sorry, let me just catch my thoughts. What were you talking about? You were talking. Can you give me your first sentence again? Because you mentioned something very good that I want to
Yeah,
come
I
back
was
to.
talking about tokenomics and how
Yes, the
protocols
conservative
can hide.
approach. That's that. It's just come to me. Sorry to interrupt, but I want to make sure I get my thoughts out. You spoke on the conservative approach that it forces you guys to take, and I also think that's an incredibly clever approach. The fact that you are saying by doing this, we are making ourselves be more conservative. And that is something that is a necessity in this space. And it is something that more people could afford to do more, is also a very big strength of yours. And it really shows to the character of what you guys want to do, and speaks to what Bevan said in terms of that slow, steady growth with those sustainable returns.
Exactly. And we want to be, like Bevan said very well, like we want to be around for a long time and be sort of this baseline, if possible. Hopefully, create a ecosystem around us and tools that we want to bring into the market. Of course, the first phase is bonds, and but that's definitely not the end of things. There's a lot more
Right.
coming, and I've been in I've been in the tech industry for 16 years. I've worked in billion-dollar startups, Silicon Valley startups, and currently I work as product owner for one of the largest proof of stake blockchains. And yeah, this
Okay.
is my passion. And I think there's a lot of good we can do with DeFi, and we can truly democratize finance.
Yes, I agree with you. And you guys are also coming from a wealth of knowledge in terms of your backgrounds. And that's, again, something investors should certainly be leaning on in terms of strength. You mentioned, Billy, that these bonds are going to be able to be tradable on the secondary market, I assume. How is that going to work?
Just in the sense that it's an NFT, so you should be able to go. I think we're on red light, but with CryptoLink,
Yeah.
you should be able to mint them on any chain, or pay for them on any chain, and they get minted on red light, and then they can be listable on the secondary market. We've discussed, building our own marketplace for those on the DApp. But the idea would be that you can arbitrage as an investor. If somebody wants to liquidate their position, you can pick it up and essentially take their yield. But it's an NFT, so it's tradable.
Right, and rentable. That's another thing that is
Yes.
coming into the space. It's slowly moving into the space.
Which
Can
is
you
actually-
talk me through how you guys came to the conclusion that rentable is something that you wanted to approach?
Well, so this actually is a happy consequence of launching on the first gasless blockchain, Redlight. One of their partners, Double Protocol, has that tech where you can kind of like rent out your NFT to others. So it's not something that we would be building necessarily. It's something that Double Protocol adds to the Redlight chain, and then we can take advantage of, because now we have this additional utility for our investors where if they can convince someone with a lot more money to use their DAO NFT, they can boost their stake. So I'm sure you're familiar with this, but for the investors, one of the utilities of the DAO NFT is like a stake APY booster. So depending on the tier of the DAO NFT, you get between an extra 2 and 5% base APY on your stake. So if you can rent it out and take a slice of that additional stake and have a protocol invest into a bond, I mean, that's another passive income play. So I think there's a lot of the smart brains out there, the giga brains, who take a look at our protocol and the chain we're on, figure out some strategies. I think there's a lot of things people can do to like maximize their yield from us, whether that's the arbitrage on the secondary market, whether that's renting out the NFT, or building a max wallet so they can increase their stake for each bond. There's a number of things.
Chaos, Billy, is that what excites you most from a technical standpoint in that respect? Is it the scope by which you're going to be able to experiment with this, or is there something else that you guys are looking at that really gets your gears going and your mind's racing in terms of what you can do?
I would say that it's just the start. I think the space is evolving very fast, and there's a certain play which I think will come in very quickly. But I don't want to disclose too much. But yeah, I think beyond phase one, we have a good roadmap in mind that we are whiteboarding, but the industry itself is changing very fast, and I prefer us to be agile enough and not to get too swept away by what we've decided. We want to move in the right direction based on the information we have at that given point.
Great stuff. I don't know if Billy wanted to jump in and say if there was anything you're particularly excited by. You were cooking food, so you might be eating now, so I apologize for picking on you. Otherwise, Bevan, jump back in. Talk to me about the vault monitoring and how that's going to work.
Yeah, so as most people probably know, there's multiple vaults across DeFi on multiple different chains. And that's going to be part of our strategies, is to monitor these vaults and deposit into these vaults and take advantage of being first movers, specifically on new things that are coming. So I don't know if you've heard of Pulse Chain.
Yes.
So things like that. So when Pulse Chain comes, we could be in a great position to take advantage of their early vaults. And early vaults, don't know how many people here have been on Red Light Chain, but if you experience their vaults early on, the vaults are specifically designed to pull investors to the chain. They do this by offering extreme yields on deposits, and people flock to the chain. They just want massive users to get to that chain. They get their yields, and once they're on chain, they start to explore. So this is one thing that we will be looking at and we will be taking advantage of, is these early mover opportunities on new chains that are coming, lock in vaults, get out, make a good, decent chunk of money that is not needed to pay people out. This will be with like protocol net profits. It's quite high risk, so we would never risk our funds that are needed. It would be purely with protocol profits. And that would still then get fed back to the treasury and fed back to investors.
Right. Interesting. It was going to be one of my questions, and certainly I imagine the community are asking the same questions in terms of what your strategy is. So early vaults is predominantly what you'll be looking at. Who is going to be looking at it? Are you going to expand a team to look at it, bring people in? Is it going to be yourself? And how are you going to? Because a lot of what you're doing appears to be that you want to have your ears to the ground, your finger on the pulse, and know what's coming out as it's coming out, if not before it comes out. So how are you guys going to position yourselves within this space to be in the best possible position to do that?
Yeah, so already just between us, like Chaos said, he's project owner of a very large proof of stake chain, and him himself gets to know about things that are coming out before most people do. Myself, I'm in contact with multiple people that are in the know. I've got, the real life friend that I mentioned that got me into crypto in 2014. Well, he owns one of the largest staking companies and validator companies for the Casper network.
Right.
So I'm also in contact with people, and I get the know of things that are coming out before other people. Mongo the same, and the same with Billy. We're all in contact with people to get that knowledge before it happens. So we are lucky enough to be able to position ourselves, and, as you said, keep our ear to the ground and make the move before others manage to make that move.
Right. And will there ever be incentives to your community to really aggregate that information into a central hub, specific to what you guys are doing? Because I imagine this is something that the community would love to rally behind, and you'd be inundated with suggestions, I suspect.
Yeah, so already in our Discord, we've got a strategy suggestions channel, and one of the things we will do is, if community members come up with a decent strategy, or they have any decent ideas on how they can benefit the company, we will test their ideas ourselves with our own funds. And if the idea is strong enough for the protocol, then 100% we will integrate that into the protocol and use it, and we will give them then heavier returns as being the owner of that strategy, if you would like to call it that.
Right. Is there going to be a base amount that you guys are going to say you're going to be able to return to people within a month or a year?
So what we started off as, it's clear in our white paper, is 15% APY. That is our base. That's not to say it can't be increased. Our goal is to compound all protocol profits so that we can grow the backing in a treasury, and very much like a stable coin would work. They're backed 1-to-1. As soon as we have backing to increase APR without negatively affecting the treasury, we will be able to increase that APR. So as I tell many people, it will never go under 15%, but in 5 years it could be 200%. It may still be 15%, but the opportunity is there and the potential is there to increase as much as what we are increasing the treasury.
Right, great, and I think people will enjoy hearing that you have a reasonable expectation for your base, but it will be increased as and when you guys start making more money. Let's talk about this insurance, but before we do, I kind of want to touch on the KYC because with any protocol, people often look at KYC as being their insurance, as in insurance that that someone has been KYC'd. You've gone through those proper channels. Was it super important for you all as a team to KYC yourselves?
It was, but I'm kind of regretting it because I'm
Tell me
basically
why.
doxed. Because I'm basically doxed anyway.
Right.
So I would quite happily give people my address on Discord. So
Right.
I suppose it was a slight waste of money, to be honest. But yeah, it was needed. From our perspective, it was needed because it instills confidence for the investors, and it gives them an easier time to approach us and get to know us.
Right.
But yeah, as of now, personally, I'm fully doxed. So
Yeah.
pay.
And I hear what you're saying. It was a waste of money because you're effectively saying you're so comfortable with what you're doing, comfortable with the approach you're taking, and that there are no significant skeletons in the closet that you need to worry about, in particular to finance in this space. That in actual fact, just giving your full name, showing your face on camera, was never going to be an issue for you in any case.
Yeah, of course. I mean, all KYC is about is the company that KYCs you gets your address, knows your name. If anything happens, obviously they can give your details to the legal authorities. I live in 69 Tanners Farm Road, Solihull. I will happily give my address to anybody. I don't mind where I'm an open book.
Right.
So yeah, that's the reason I probably regret spending, I don't know what it was, $1,500 or whatever, just for somebody to have my name.
Right, understood. KYC for me is always one of those contentious issues because there are certain arguments for and against. Is it going to be something that you require of the partners that you and the partnerships that you form? Or is it because one of the arguments that I give against KYC is that there are some people that simply don't want to dox themselves, but they are very capable of creating particularly unique, innovative things. And there may well be some partnerships out there that could be incredibly fruitful for you, very safe, with no risk of anybody wanting to rug anybody else. But the sticking point might be KYC. So I wonder what your thoughts are in terms of those partnerships. Do you want people to KYC or no?
So for me personally, I don't expect them to KYC, but I would expect for an NDA to be signed and for them to dox me personally.
Right.
That is because if I signed an NDA, and in that NDA was that I could only release anything at all if there was malicious going on and they'd done something wrong, then they're protected. If they're not malicious and they have no intent of being malicious, then they would have no reason not to dox to me. I quite understand people's worries when it comes to KYC companies because there has been instances where things have been leaked.
Right.
And that may not be fault of the company in particular, but it may be somebody has said to their friend, "Oh yeah, this was so and so," and released their name, and then Chinese whispers gets around and it gets out to everyone. So I completely understand that some people won't KYC, but as somebody becoming a partner with us, I wouldn't see any reason at all why they couldn't dox to us.
Right, understood. And I think that's a reasonable request and requirement for you guys to have. It's certainly because at the core of your partnerships is that you guys have to feel comfortable. And if you don't feel comfortable working with someone, or if there is any doubt whatsoever, then it's better to not work with them, because it protects you, it protects your protocol, and most importantly, as we said at the top of the Q&A, it protects the most important people, which are the investors, right?
Exactly. At the end of the day, it comes down to, if we partner with someone, if we've got, I don't know, 300 people in our community that have invested in us and they trust us enough, the likelihood is they're going to go to that protocol and they're also going to invest there.
Right.
We wouldn't want to be the reason they've invested in somebody and that company has done something malicious and they lose money. So if that is a possibility, that is why we would want them to dox to us, because I would myself want to know who has hurt my investors, if
Right.
you understand.
Yeah, I do, and I think it makes total sense, and I think it's well articulated, and again, it is something that investors should take strength from, because that kind of approach, I think, is going to become the norm slowly but surely in this space. And unfortunately, it is just, you guys have learned from being burned one too many times. In terms of security for your investors, insurance is one of the things that you guys provide. Can you talk me through that a tiny bit?
Yeah, so we got a partnership with Secured Haven Assured DeFi. They approached us. It's not a working relationship or big partnership. It's just strategic. But one thing that they offered us was the possibility of an insurance pool. So what that would be is we would deposit an amount into the pool, which can be increased. So as we start making profits, a small percentage of profits can keep going in to top that pool up. And then it's up to people that invest in us if they would like to go to their D app and get insurance out for the amount that they've put in, then they can do that. I think there's a small fee, 0.2% or something like that. It's all explained on their D app in total. So yeah, that's what the insurance is about.
And how much is it? Is that something that you're going to recommend your investors do? Is it something that you're going to actively pursue as something that you push to everybody? Or are you really just going to sit back and say, right, it's something that is on offer, but if you want to take it, take it. If you don't, don't.
Yeah, so from my perspective, I'm not going to push people to go and get it, because from our perspective, we know we're here to stay. So I'm not going to push somebody that comes invest in us to go and spend more money to get insurance out, because I know our intent is good and that they're going to have their return. So I will tell them about it. I'll make them aware of it. And then it's completely up to them whether they want to go and spend that little bit extra to be insured or not.
Right, understood. Data modeling. I know that's something that you guys have done. You've done a fair bit of data modeling, and the projections, strategies, allocations of funds. Those models, are those things that eventually you might start filtering through to the community to say, look, this is what we've come up with. This is how it looks for us. Is there any input from anybody? Is there anything that you guys want to suggest? Or is that the kind of information that you're going to keep very close to your chest and keep it really for yourselves and your own minds, and allow just the community to see the fruits of those models and the labor?
Yeah, so as I touched upon earlier, as we grow and we're in a position to be able to support ourselves and have a decent feeling that somebody with more money can't just come rip off our model and run over us, which is very easily done when you've got people that are worth hundreds of millions in this space. Yeah, for sure. When we're at a good position and we can support ourselves, 100%, we'll start releasing much more data, and we start releasing strategies to the community so that they can see it in person. And then if they would like, they can even try out them strategies themselves.
Great. And if you do release it too early and anything goes wrong, as Billy says, just blame the dev, right? Because everybody also always wants to blame the dev.
The good thing is even if somebody with more money was to come along and rip us off and run over us, all that does to us is hinders growth. So once money's invested, we will stick to the same strategy. We're still going to get the same returns. Like these people with bigger money, all they can do is basically steal potential investors. So all it does is hinder growth. It doesn't hinder the returns or the investments we make. So I'll just make that clear. So somebody can come and rip us off. All it means is we just spend more time growing, spend more time building.
Great. While you're building and while you're growing, inevitably there are going to be hardships. Things crop up that are difficult. You take lessons from them. You learn. You might have to maneuver yourself in a different direction. Was there anything in particular that cropped up for you guys as a team that you found a particularly difficult hurdle to overcome? And what lessons did you take away from that problem and then implemented it moving forward?
Yeah, obviously. So as most people know, we launched on Red Light Chain. I'm a major supporter of Red Light Chain. Love what they're doing, love the tech. They've had their issues, but they are doing right by everyone and they're moving forward. Being such a new chain and basically a complete startup, they weren't VC funded or anything like that. Obviously, there's small bridge allowances, so they're all hurdles that we've had to overcome. We can't just move 300,000 off chain. It's impossible with a 70k bridge limit because they need to fund the bridge. So as they grow, that's increasing. So yeah, we've had hurdles and pretty big hurdles we've had to overcome, but we are foreseeing what's coming, and we're moving things before they affect us. We did get impacted by the chain for a couple of days, by the bridge, but now we've positioned ourselves in a way that the bridge won't impact us again. And as soon as Red Light have more of a cemented position in their chain and more funds to allocate, then we can start holding much more funds on chain because we'll be able to move more funds around. Again, with Red Light Chain, because they're new, there's only a few projects on chain. The good projects, to be fair. One of them we partnered with, strategic partner with Music Gods. Really good owner. He's amazing bloke. But because there's so little projects on chain, the chain we've launched on, there's nothing for us to invest in. So everything that we got to invest in at the moment is on a different chain somewhere else. So that's another hurdle. But obviously moving forward, as soon as they start to gain adoption, that will also change. So we've actually launched, and you could say that this start off period is the hardest patch we'll have. So we're running very smooth at the moment. Nothing's impacted us to a stage where it's got us in trouble or we haven't managed to stick to something that we need to do. So if we're running that smooth now, when Red Light Chain starts to get adopted, it'll just keep getting smoother and smoother and smoother.
Right. Great, and I'm glad that that's the outlook that you have for it. One of the things I also appreciate is you've said it a couple of times now is that you don't want to be gazumped by a $100 million company, which means you're putting yourself in the same league as a $100 million company. You are effectively saying we are going to be a protocol project, investment group, all of the above that those kind of businesses are going to want to look at. And there's a lot of power to be had and taken from the fact that you see yourselves in that position, because I think that should tell your investors that's what you guys are striving for, and you believe you're already there, which is why you've got to keep something secret, right?
100%. I mean, plenty of our community members know what my targets are. I'm pretty open. I want to be one of the top TVL projects, and I believe we can easily make it happen within 3 to 5 years. I think our business model in itself leads us to become one of the top TVL projects. And I believe that our business model, nobody's got at the moment. So 100%, we do not want somebody that has that power to take that from us. So yeah, we are positioning ourselves to grow. like I said, it doesn't matter whether it takes 12 months or 5 years. We will grow to how big we want to grow. We've just got to safeguard ourselves and our investors this early on, and then we can be more open about it when we get there.
Yeah, it's one of the things that I've taken away from interactions in the Discord, but also reading the white paper in this conversation, is that you guys have a real light side to you. You guys are all having fun in the chat, which is lovely to see. When I've jumped into your Discord, it's been light, it's been fun. You know, there's been some teasing. When it comes down to business, you guys are all incredibly mature, well-spoken, and you're approaching this with a really mature head. So I don't think that what you're saying is unobtainable, and I also like that you're looking years years down the line rather than saying it's going to happen within 3 to 6 months. And again, it speaks to your wanting to avoid coming off and being like those protocols that promise the world and then thoroughly underwhelming with their delivery, if not a complete rug. Which one of you guys is the weakest link? Because I'm going to twist somebody's arm for some alpha at some point, and I'll probably just kick everyone else off the stage so no one can interject. So you can tell me, who shall I pick on?
Pappy.
You?
I like that answer.
Okay. Oh, okay. Before I do that, I want to bring Mongo in for a second because I haven't heard your voice yet. We haven't spoken. How you doing?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm good, thank you very much. Thank you very much for joining us.
My apologies. I was stuck on a soccer field before this, so.
Who won?
Neither. The rain did.
Oh, okay. It was rained off completely?
Lightning, yes.
Fair enough. Oh, okay. All right. So, yeah, definitely get them to safety. Can you give a little bit of an idea of your background, please? And then I'm going to ask what you've been most excited with this project from a personal standpoint. So not necessarily from a building out or business standpoint, but from just you as an individual, a human being. What have you found most exciting?
First and foremost, in the real world, I'm a business owner. So I pretty much run all of our operations, from the IRS filings to our organizational filings to all of our business banking accounts and all that fun stuff, on top of writing all of our Medium articles. So I'm like a Swiss Army knife when it comes down to filling in the gaps. I am not a technical person like Chaos and Billy, but I can I can manage the Discord for the most part. I do say I'm slightly retarded when it comes to Discord. But, to be fair, what am I most excited about? Seeing our strategy kind of come into fruition. I was a big part of coming up with the ratios we came out with on our last Medium article in terms of where we feel are the low risk versus medium risk and high risk. I'm also a very good trader, so technical analysis is kind of my background. So I'm not an expert in one category, but I'm pretty darn good at a bunch. So I'm not going to say I'm the best, but I do bring quite a bit to the table.
Great. And just seeing your strategies play out is what you're most excited about, kind of approaching from a personal standpoint. Do you have any personal goals that you're looking at? A time when, if you reach that, when you reach that goal, you're going to sit down and kind of, privately congratulate yourself and say, yes, I got to this point.
Well, the one thing I like to point out is what we're doing. No one's doing it in DeFi. I think we could really change DeFi, or what I call like DeFi 2.0. There's nothing. We have a very small inner circle of partnered groups that are looking to physically change DeFi for the better. And it's kind of, after you've seen rug after rug and all the node crap from the last bull run, there's no one that's taking the approach that we're doing that's going to give a sustainable result over the next 5 to 10 years. We're not looking at 1 or 2 years. We're looking at 3 to 5, if not 10 years down the road of where we're going to be. Very few projects, I think, are doing that. They may say that, but I don't see a business model that they're rolling out that's going to give them the sustainability that we have.
Right.
Does that make sense?
It does make sense, yes, and I like that. I like the people want to change this space. Certainly, if you can't change it, you can be an example to it. And just by being an example and standing tall and proud and saying, right, we're going to do things differently, you can then affect change in people, right? you can start to force people to be better actors, because if they're not, they're just going to lose their investors to you guys. And I think that's where the strength for this particular protocol is going to come in.
Absolutely.
So I was going to twist somebody's arm for a little bit of alpha. Who did you say, Bevan, I should be picking on?
Happy, bring refund up.
Pappy is refusing to come up. He's making some excuse that his mic isn't working.
He's joking. It works. I know. He phoned me and he told me it works.
He's joking. Is he right? In the meantime, while I'm trying to convince him to come up, can you run through once again how it is that people can get invested with you guys, where they should be starting at this point in time, and when you guys can be expecting to launch, and when they can start to either see returns or perhaps some DAO votes coming in? Just kind of give us a bit of a breakdown again.
Yeah, so if you'd like to invest at this moment, come into our Discord. At the moment, we're running pre-sale, and you mint the pre-sale NFTs on our D app. We have a full written rundown of how you do it. We also have a YouTube video that Pappy has produced for us that runs you by step on how to mint.
Mm-hmm.
We're looking to launch the main protocol end of Q2, probably end of June now, because we've had to split our pre-sale into two. The second phase pre-sale is coming the 29th of April. So that will go live on the 29th. It'll raise in price then the NFTs by $50. When we go live end of June, then obviously you'll be able to choose your lockups. Your returns will come available monthly, but you'll only be able to claim 50% of your rewards a month. The rest become available at maturity date.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's when the revenue sharing will also start.
Great. One of my big takeaways from this is, as I've already said, and I'll say it again, and I'm not just blowing smoke up your ass either, it's the maturity by which you guys have all brought your minds to the table. And again, it really was a significant shift from your interactions, which I really like in your Discord, that are light-hearted, fun. You know, teasing someone like Pappy, who is a little bit shy, it seems, that's all great fun, but then when it really does come down to business, you've got to be able to speak business, and I appreciate that you guys have had that very serious head on, and you've delivered the information incredibly well. So you know, as always, in order to win the giveaway that we're going to be giving away, you have to have jumped into the Discord. We've thrown the link in, so please jump in. You've got to be able to prove that you're in that Discord by opening a ticket with us to show it. So I'm expecting everybody listening here to jump into the Discord. While you guys are doing that and that giveaway is ongoing, is there any alpha that you guys can tease? I'm sure there's lots that you don't want to give away just yet, but is there anything that you can kind of let slip through the net a tiny bit that might really excite the people listening?
I can't give names, but you know them, the flashing lights of a red color like an alarm.
I do.
We've got a major partner being announced in the next couple of weeks.
When you say major, how major?
I just told.
What's the first letter?
I just told you all you needed to know.
Okay.
You just didn't listen properly.
I didn't. I like it. All right, so I'll go back to it. So flashing lights, red flashing lights in a major partnership. Great. That's going to be great for everyone listening, guys. Is there anything that I haven't covered that you wish I had, and you've been screaming at your computer screens this entire time, saying, "Bring this up"?
For us or for people listening?
For you guys, for people listening, is there anything that you guys wanted to cover that I haven't mentioned?
No, to be fair, I think you've been very thorough in your questioning, and very happy to have had the chance to speak to you. I'd just like to point out that Pappy is not shy. We have a banter chat in our Discord. That is only given to certain people when we know that they can take a joke, so they don't get offended. but
Right.
he is the worst out of the lot.
Right. Okay. So really, Pappy not jumping up on stage. He's let you down. He's let himself down. He's let every single person that's listened today down. He's let me down.
He leads our chat by about threefold, so don't let him fool you.
He's great.
Don't be
Yeah,
strange
right,
to guy Poppy, okay, Mahara? What we gonna get to? Okay.
I'll get him next time. Gentlemen, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you all. I'm excited to see how this all goes. I'm excited to see where you guys are going to be, not just in a couple of months' time when you're launching, but also in 6 months, 12 months, 24 months, etc. I'm going to be keeping a really keen eye on you, and I hope you guys do come back in at some point to have another conversation with us when things are all up and running, so that we can do a further deep dive.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to be able to make it a regular occurrence, and maybe we can jump in once every 6 months and have a 6-month update with you. And hopefully by that point, a lot of the investors and listeners will know what we're about anyway. So yeah, we'll just slowly get the word out there.
Absolutely agree. And we're, the pillars here, our ethos is to help protocols. So as and when information comes in, when we like the people that we've spoken to, when there's a good rapport, we're always going to be sending thoughts, protocols, people in your direction for you guys to talk to. And if there's a benefit to be derived from that, then fantastic. And, you take what you want to take and you leave what you want to leave. And that's how this space should operate, I think.
100%, completely agree.
It's
Guys,
been great, and thank you so much.
Absolute pleasure.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Billy, Chaos, Mongo, Bevan, an absolute pleasure. Thank you guys so much. It's been wonderful. I'm going to close it down now. I hope there's going to be a bunch of people jumping into the Discord, and look forward to speaking to you guys soon. Take care.
Thanks
All
for
the
having
best.
us.
Take care.